What? That's what's up. All right. Let's see what we got here. We got some new stuff going down. Actually, let me see this. So I believe that if you would to turn it on, you'd have two separate streams going on YouTube. Dang, like we have a spaceship center right here. Like when you see it on the screen, it's just like Captain's log, stardate 43290. Yo, everybody said they heard a loud boom outside. Jesus is coming. He's here. Uh-oh. Tom McDonald has a new video dropping with Roseanne on Friday. I wonder if it's Roseanne Barr. What? Donald Trump said Obama threatened him? Why would Obama threaten anybody? I thought you was a president. You're not supposed to be threatening no one. Oh. Yeah. Let's see. Honey, can't you do a screen share? Window capture? It's on this computer, so it's like yeah, but I'm trying to take this what I'm seeing on the screen. Display capture? Yo, yes. What? We're good. That's what I want. Yeah. Look at that. It won't resize? Let's see. How do I size this? What? Oh, now I can change it. What? We got to get YouTube Premium. What?
The King of Kings, he's the one who reigns. He's the Alpha, Omega, Jehovah, and we give him glory because he is the one. Yeah, that we walk through the valley. We will not fear any evil. We running and not growing weary. We soaring on wings like we eagles. We getting rid of our pride and stepping away from our ego. We keep our lips from telling lies. Our tongues from speaking the evil. We got on the armor of God. The belt, the truth, the shoes, the peace. We know that the devil's a lie. That word about him and lose and sleep. We need so where we keep it.
My keyboard's not working again. My new bats. That's the mouse. I haven't changed these keyboard batteries not once. They still got Panasonics in it. What now?
In our minds.
There it goes. Per square foot. $20. Right? take you a half a day to do these, depending on their.
And that is for a 12 by 12.
Mm-hmm.
And the corner seat,
250.
all right, and
And
now
then
the tile
$50
set.
per. What about the two soap dishes?
Oh, I didn't see the two soap
They're
dishes.
50 apiece.
And that's just that you
Uh-huh.
attach to the wall? Okay.
What does pre-tile set mean?
So this is just to install the hardy, everything you do before you even set the tile.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And so now these are the tile set costs. You want 20 per square foot.
Yep.
Shower pan.
If
Same.
this is preset, then that's $10. We'll do $10.
We keeping our minds.
Okay.
Okay.
And that'll include the waterproofing and all that stuff.
Okay.
And a shower pan.
Same 20 per square foot.
Oh, the tile.
Mhm.
It's mosaic. So just put
15 more.
nah, put 500 to do the
So flat.
500 flat to do the floor. Yeah. Because if anything happens, it's got to be busted out or anything. It's
Right.
this should be around between $5,000 and $6,000.
Okay. Full
Okay.
to tile the curb, and I did tiled face.
That's
for
all
solid
part of the
tile.
same. No.
So take that off.
Mm-hmm.
So that's included in that price.
So is the niche in the corner and all that.
Okay. And then for the trim,
What trim?
all the Schluter.
Oh, just 200. And then see what that comes out to, baby.
Stay on me. Cause he is the one. I done been in the world, but I never been friends with the world. Maybe because I'm not of the world, I don't follow the world. Even if I'm meant to take an L, then it's probably out of this world. I'm a model of the world, I'm a represent God on this earth. In and outside of the church, the Father is first. I don't have a physical Bible, but baby, my Bible that broke. I know God is the one that supplies me with all that I need. That is through Jesus Christ, and I'm certain that all things are possible if you believe. So keep on speaking life. I know from the love of God that nothing can separate me, not even death, either life. I know poverty catches up with too much slumber or sleep. So I'ma just sleep at night, and the Lord is my strength. Well, who should I be afraid of?
What? That's so dope. What? That's so dope. So we have just figured out how to do a few more things. What? Yeah. want live. This is amazing. Well, now you guys can all see what's going on. It's a learning curve. All right, so today we're going to be going out to the streets. We're going to be doing mobile podcasting today. I don't know where we're headed yet, but we're headed somewhere. We're going to get a map out, and we're going to throw a dart at it or pin the tail on a donkey. I want to go look through some stuff real quick. Wow, Donald Trump's got a lot.
Are you a non-U.S. citizen? Do you not have a U.S. Social Security number? Do you need an employee?
In a true sense, I saved NATO, but NATO's taken advantage of us. And one of the problems that I have, and I've said it openly, I said it to President Zelensky, Europe is in for a tiny fraction of the money that we're in. Now, whether you like that situation or not, Europe is much more affected than the United States. We have a thing called the ocean in between us, right? Why are we in for billions and billions of dollars more money than Europe? And, you know, they're a similar size, a little smaller, but they're a similar size economy as the United States when you add them up. And yet Europe is in for a small fraction of the number the United States is in. Now, Biden could have called them up during the term. That's what I did. I said, you have to pay your bills. And they all, one stood up. I won't say who. You'll probably have it because the papers, the media hated to report on it. But a prime minister stood up from a country, you know, a famous meeting of 28 nations with no press, no anybody in the room. He stood up. He says, does that mean if we don't pay our bill, and at that point it was 2%, it should be 5%. It should be 5%, not 2%. But at that point it was 2%. But many people didn't pay. Some people didn't pay anything. But many people were way, including Germany. Germany was at less than 1%. You're going to press for 5%? Well, I think NATO should have 5%, yeah. Well, you can't do it at 2%. I mean, at 2%, every country, if you're going to have a country in a regular military, you're at 4%. I think they should be, you know, they're in dangerous territory. I think it should be, they can all afford it, but they should be at 5%, not 2%. I'm the one that got them to pay 2%. But a gentleman stood up, a prime minister stood up, and he said to me, sir, could I ask you a question? You're saying we have to pay our bills. If we don't pay our bills, will the United States protect us from Russia? I said, if you don't pay, you mean you're delinquent? He said, yes. He said, if you're delinquent, we will not protect you. I took a lot of heat. Although it was somewhat closed door, I took a lot of heat from the media. And you know what happened? The money started pouring in. That's why NATO has money. And the Secretary General said it was the most incredible thing he had ever seen in a negotiation. Now, if I would have said, yes, we will, nobody would have paid. If I would have loved to say, yes, we'll protect you even if you don't pay. But that's not the way life works.
Mr. President, two questions related to each other. First, you said on your first day of office you were going to pardon January 6th defendants. Are you planning to pardon those who were charged with violent offenses?
Well, we're looking at it, and we have other people in there. And as you see, I guess 24 or 28 people came now from the FBI. That came out very quietly. Nobody reported it, but they had people in some form related to the FBI. They had 4 or 5 people that were strongly related to the FBI. We have to find out about that. We have to find out about Hezbollah. We have to find out about who exactly was in that whole thing, because people that did some bad things were not prosecuted. You know, I see it all the time, and you see it too. People that were doing some bad things weren't prosecuted, and people that didn't even walk into the building are in jail right now. So we'll be looking at the whole thing, but I'll be making major pardons.
See, this is what we're talking about right here.
Please.
They got people hemmed up that are real Americans, ain't got nothing to do with
about
that.
Syria and the ongoing war in Gaza. About Syria, the Pentagon disclosed last month The U.S. has some 2,000 troops in Syria. That's almost double the number initially we were told of 900. Will you keep that troop capacity the same upon taking
Well, I
over?
won't tell you that because that's part of a military strategy, but I will say it was Turkey. Turkey's been after that country in different names and different forms and shapes for 2,000 years. Those people that went in are from Turkey. And President Erdogan is a friend of mine. He's a guy I like, respect. I think he respects me also. He's the one that didn't go after certain people after I requested that he not. You know who I'm talking about, the Kurds. I don't know how long that's going to, because they're natural enemies. They hate each other. But he didn't do that yet. And he didn't do it in the past also. He started, and I said, please don't do that, and he didn't do it. So, but if you look at what happened with Syria, Russia was weakened, Iran was weakened, and he's a very smart guy.
Oh, Jake,
And he sent his people in there through different forms and different names, and they went in and they took over, and that's the way it is.
I have it in my.
Do you have concerns about HTS taking control of
By the way, I
Syria at this
have
point?
the envoy here. Is that in the back? Standing with my son, Eric, is Steve Witkoff, who's just got back from the Middle East, and he's done a fantastic job. He's a great deal maker. I said, what we need there is a deal maker, because nobody makes a deal. We have people that understand where the rivers are and where the meets and bounds are, but they can't talk. They can't make deals. Steve's done a great job. I just want to thank you, Steve. You've been working endlessly for months, and he's working specifically on the hostages, trying to get them back.
Well, that was my second question. Is Hamas
Steve, come up for a second. Maybe you might want to say a couple of words.
Sir,
I didn't-
Hamas released another hostage
I didn't know Steve was going to be here, actually.
Neither did I.
He's done a fantastic job, and it's a dangerous job, too, and we appreciate it. He didn't know about this kind of danger and the other deal-making he does. Now he sees a lot of big danger. Come on up, Steve.
Mr. President, can I ask you a second part of that? Hamas
Yeah,
released
just one
another
second,
hostage
please.
video.
I'm going to give you a little report on the hostages, if I can. Steve? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Wow. Well, I think we're making a lot of progress, and I don't want to say too much because I think that some really great progress, and I'm really hopeful that by the inaugural, we'll have some good things to announce on behalf of the President. I actually believe that we're working in tandem in a really good way, but it's the President, his reputation, the things that he has said that are driving this negotiation. And so hopefully it'll all work out and we'll save some lives. I believe we've been on the verge of it. I don't want to discuss sort of what's delayed it. There's no point to be negative in any way. But I think it's the President, his stature, what he said he expects, the red lines he's put out there, that's driving this negotiation. I'm going back probably either this evening or tomorrow night.
Are you confident there'll be a deal before January 20th, or is that something that's likely to happen? If there's a deal even at all, and we've been hearing this now for the better part of...
I know.
since October
I would say...
They better be.
Right. I would say that the President is exasperated. I don't want to talk for him, but look, I don't know anyone who delegates better than President Trump. He gives us a lot of authority to speak on his behalf, and he exhorts us to speak emphatically. And emphatically means you better get it, you better do this, because the alternative...
All right. Let's get it. Tell him, Trump. World on the brink of World War III. That's what they're saying. I don't think so. We the people ain't gonna allow that to happen.
Administrations. The Obama administration did what they do is they come in with giant, heavy armed agents, body armor, helicopters. Like, it's shocking. We had a raid on some placer miners in a place called Chicken, Alaska, under President Obama. Over 30 armed agents, body armors, to do what? Do compliance on the Clean Water Act. They didn't find one violation. They scared the hell out of the miners, okay? Then, not to be outdone, the Biden administration has done these raids on small mechanic shops in Alaska. They bring up EPA agents from all over the country, 30 armed agents kicking in doors in mechanic shops in Alaska. By the way, my state believes in the Second Amendment. Most of my state is armed. This is very dangerous because some of these agents could get shot.
Yo, did
when
you
they're
just
coming
hear
in.
this guy?
So what's
he
happened
said that my
is
state believes in the Second Amendment.
you don't have cooperative federalism. You have rogue
Senator
EPA
Rickett,
agents
Senator Sullivan.
who are going to enforcement before they talk about compliance. On any of these issues, they could have gone to these mechanic shops. They could have gone to the miners saying, hey, we think you may be violating the Clean Water Act. Can you work with us? No. These guys come. They had 40 agents, all of them armed, raiding these mechanic shops. It is just an outrage. Can I get your commitment to focus on compliance rather than jumping to armed enforcement? And secondly, look, I believe in an armed citizenry. I believe in the Second Amendment. I don't believe in an armed bureaucracy. The EPA is a SWAT team.
Oh, he said
Do
he
you
does
believe
not
the EPA
believe
should
in
even
armed
have armed agents?
bureaucracy.
When they go into places, they can just have the local police or local state troopers. You got these guys out of control in Alaska, and it is dangerous. And the current EPA administrator, I sent him letters on this. He didn't answer me. Someone's going to get hurt. Can I get your commitment to focus on compliance, civil compliance, as opposed to kicking in doors with body armor, assault rifles, helicopters? It's crazy, and it's really outrageous, and it happens under Democrats, not President Trump, Democrats.
Whoa.
Senator, it is outrageous. The story that you told and Senator Murkowski shared with me as well with regards to chicken,
Honorable Lee
Alaska, it led me, as somebody who's going through this transition, to be asking questions as to how did that even get authorized, who signs off on it, what is the standards that need to be met in order to even say yes to an operation.
Yo, like, let's talk about this. Like, for real, like, who gets the opportunity to sign off on the documentation that sends 30, 40, 50 armed agents? And when we say armed, you're talking about full tactical. You're talking about, like, level 900 body armor, like, full assault rifles, you know, tear gas, you know, and when they come, helicopters, squad cars, you know, armored trucks, all this stuff. And then what happens? What happens? Who is, look at all the money that's being spent. That's like the money that was spent right there in one raid for no reason. That could have probably housed like 20 families.
Operation like that.
With 30 agents from EPA agents from all over America came up to raid a mechanic shop, a small business that I think there was 8 guys who owned it. They were National Guard guys, great Alaskans. Can I get your commitment on that and to work with me? And do you think the EPA should be armed? I don't.
Senator, if something requires an enforcement action on a prosecutorial front, that is working with the Department of Justice. Congress has enacted laws where enforcement is part of the effort. On the compliance front, there are people and entities owning property where there is mitigation that needs to happen and where they want to work with the government to mitigate that situation on their property. We should be working with them to make that happen.
Great.
All right,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Senator Kelly, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Zeldin, congratulations on your nomination, and thanks for coming by my office a couple weeks ago. As we discussed, Arizona has some unique challenges that we need some help from EPA leadership on, and we need to work with you as a collaborative partner to help us address some specific air quality and water quality challenges that we're facing, and to do this in a way that does not disrupt our state's growth. We're a rapidly growing state. So let's start with air quality. As we discussed, Maricopa County, which is Phoenix, half the population of the state, is in non-attainment under the Clean Air Act for ground-level ozone pollution.
I just have a question. While everybody's houses are burning down in California, they're sitting here talking about bullshit. Right? They're talking about the wrongdoings of the government. The people that, we didn't elect. Because I'm telling you right now, we would never elect people that would allow a whole state to burn down. What's going to happen to all the people that are in that state? All their homes, the displacement. You retards. What's wrong with y'all? How about we talk about that?
Now, under the Clean Air Act, the way the law assumes air quality can be improved is by reducing emissions from stationary sources of emissions, like big manufacturing. Might make sense in some parts of the country, certainly in more industrialized areas, the Rust Belt, the East Coast, but it doesn't make sense in Phoenix. And the reason is we're a really young state, and we don't have a history of this heavy manufacturing. And manufacturing, by the way, is not the source of our air quality challenges in Maricopa County. EPA's own modeling shows that 80% of the ozone-forming pollutants in the Phoenix area.
And I already made it clear, and you and I talked about this. I'm for a tax code that gives everybody the opportunity to get ahead. You and I talked about my friend Bill Bradley. He and I have been working for this for years. Do you believe the tax code should treat wages differently than it treats wealth?
Look, in any tax system that advantages and creates distortions, it is a change that, Senator, it is a decision that was made when the tax codes were written. And so every tax code involves the trade-offs and distortions in favor of other the gains.
It sounds to me like you do believe that it's fine to treat wealth more favorably. I couldn't disagree more. The idea that $1 earned by a hedge fund manager has more value than $1 earned by a teacher or a factory worker, I just think it's a disconnect with the American people. One last question, and that is about the legislation that was written in this room that was the biggest transformation on clean energy in American history. That is our package that basically said the tax code as it relates to energy is a broken down mess. And we basically said we're going to have a technology neutral system. The more you reduce carbon, the bigger your tax savings. Now there is a big effort in the Trump administration to reverse it. I think that's going to be bad for the economy, but it is going to be damn good for China because we are in an arms race on clean energy with them. Are you going to be on the side of people who want to unravel this?
Senator Wyden, just so we can frame this for everyone in the room, China will build 100 new coal plants this year. There is not a clean energy race. There is an energy race. China will build 10 nuclear plants this year. That is not solar. I am in favor of more nuclear plants. And I would note that the IRA, as scored by the CBO, is wildly out of control in terms of spending on the upside.
Well, first of all, the clean energy package does protect nuclear because members on both sides of the aisle in this room wanted it to be that way. But if you're going to talk about fossils, the United States has achieved a greater level of energy security than we've had in generations. Oil and gas production is at record highs. And it's not just that, but it's about clean energy. And I'm very troubled by your position denying that we're in an arms race with China on clean energy, because we definitely are. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We do need to move on. And I told Senator Wyden he could have those 4 questions, but I want to remind everybody else we've got a 5-minute time limit. He deserved those extra questions. Senator Grassley.
Mr. Benseth, congratulations. I want to start out with where you and I talked about something in my office, and you remember that tongue-in-cheek comment I made to you that you're going to be asked by the chairman, will you answer all of our letters? And everybody that comes to the Hill says, yes, they're going to. And I said, maybe you better say maybe, because most people don't keep that promise. So I just wanted to remind you, if I write you a letter on my oversight responsibilities, I'd appreciate it if you'd answer it. Now to my first question. My Democrat colleagues believe, you gonna put that up? My Democrat colleagues believe the only solution to our unsustainable debt and deficit is higher tax rates and that ends up being on job creators and families alike. However, history proves that high tax rates fail to raise significant revenues. Taxpayers, workers, and investors are smarter than that. In other words, they're smarter than we in Congress that thinks that at one time a 93% marginal tax rate would bring in more revenue than a 70% tax rate or a 50% tax rate or a 30% tax rate or a 40% tax rate and so on.
Now, I agree with this. Okay? Now, I'm going to say this. All right? Taxes are the responsibility of that of the United States. It's never going to change the budget for the United States because they still got to take care of the same amount of people. Same amount of taxes, same kind of thing. What the only thing that changes is how much they charge us. And we shouldn't be paying anything. Did you hear Donald Trump saying 2% is what they pay in other countries? Germany, 2%? 2%. 2%. Like milk. 2% in taxes. Are you serious right now? This is absurd. He said some countries, they agreed at 5%. 5%. That everybody in the world should put in. Okay, the Bible says 10%. Like if we took our money and we put it in, all right, you say we give it to God. So what do? We give it to the church. So we give it to the church. What's the church doing with it? Oh, Tessie, you heard it. When you hear the chime, you know it's a rhyme. So if the church is holding all this money, all these resources, let's say resources, and it's not given back to the people, then you have a government that's taking the other part of the resources and they're using it for selfish gain. You have two different systems both working together to create a land of what? Poverty. Poverty. You got all these businesses still building. How are they building? Where are the funds to build these things that they're building? Where do they get that? They're borrowing against what? Credit? Against funds that aren't even there. But if you don't got good credit, if you're a black sheep in the society and you decide that you don't want to live by their system and they decide they want to defeat your full faith and credit and take your administration away from you, then what happens? Right there, it's showing you right on the screen. You guys see this, right? The revenue of the percent of the GDP didn't change, whether it was 90% tax, 70% tax, 50% tax, 40% tax, or 37% tax. Can I just say that? That's sad. Where did the percentages go? Like, where'd the extra? It didn't go back to us, we the people.
But as you can see from this chart, Congress isn't too smart because the taxpayers decide how much money they're going to bring into the federal treasury. Now, on the other side of the ledger, federal spending is at levels we've never seen outside of war and recession and still growing. So I'm making a statement to you, but if you'd like to comment on whether or not we have a fiscal imbalance primarily or a spending problem rather than a revenue problem.
Senator Grassley, I enjoyed visiting you in your office, and will remind you that when we were talking about the American agriculture, that I may be the first Treasury Secretary nominee in a long time who knows what a section is, 642 acres, and am involved in the farming business. And yes, we do not have a revenue problem in the United States of America. We have a spending problem. That historically, for the past 40 or 50 years, revenues, federal government revenues, have averaged about 17 to 17.5% of GDP. And spending has been slightly over that, leading us to a 3.5% budget deficit, which is manageable because we have roughly 3.8% nominal growth, 1.8% real growth, 2% inflation. Today, as you stated, and to be clear, this is one of the things that got me out from behind my desk and my quiet life in this campaign, was the thought that this spending is out of control. We are spending about 24, 25% of GDP. So as you said, 6.8 to 7% deficit. We have never seen this before when it is not a recession or not a war. And I am concerned because several times the Treasury of the United States has been called upon to save the nation, whether it was the Civil War, the Great Depression, World War II, or the recent COVID epidemic. Treasury, along with full government and Congress, has used its borrowing capacity to save the Union, to save the world, and to save the American people. And what we currently have now, we would be hard-pressed to do same.
My last question is one I ask a lot of people to come from Treasury. While I oppose tax hikes on individuals, families, and small businesses, I've long championed sensible policies geared towards shutting down tax loopholes and providing tools to IRS to detect tax cheats. A primary example is my legislation that I authored in 2006, the IRS whistleblower law. It's brought $6 billion back into the federal treasury. This program could raise billions more if IRS would use it to its full potential. So I hope I can count on you if you're confirmed, and I think you'll be confirmed, to be supportive of this whistleblower program and work to ensure its full use.
To be so for real, last year was kind of a lot for me. I was just feeling kind of like...
Okay, so, did the politics for the morning, okay? Bullshit, bullshit, and bullshit. Okay? We the people, we don't want to stand for this no more. This is getting ridiculous and out of hand. That's why you see California struggling right now, is because if a real problem happens, this is how it's going to get handled. So, I just wanted to be transparent with everyone today on our live broadcast from the studio. Whoop whoop. All right, we love y'all. We about to hit the streets.